901.
This is a resolution approving a tax increment finance and provision amendment to the Gay Street Redevelopment and Urban Renewal Plan.
Intergovernmental.
Intergovernmental voted 9-0 with no recommendation.
Finance Committee.
Which one is it, Scott?
Top of page 13. 901.
Finance 9-0 to approve.
Hey, do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Do we have a second? Seconded. Commissioner Lutho and then Commissioner Lutho.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is directed to the Law Director. I guess a concern that I have is that with this type of structure, other than debt retirement, we would collect no property tax for 15 years. And it looks like this developer here is going ahead and develop the property, would sell the property, and I take at that point would be able to pay off his loan, but for the next 15 years, all that money would be directed towards a payment. But would not that developer be responsible for that loan until the loan is paid off? He might pay it off because he sold all the property right away, or pretty soon. It looks like they have all the money would take off pay the loan. The other thing is it possible to do less than the full non-debt retirement part to comply?
As far as the last part of that goes, I've got a call in to Mark Mamontov, who is, I would call him a local expert on these things,
yes,
to answer that question, and I haven't had a chance to talk with him. Have you all had a chance to talk with him? It was my initial impression that that we could do that, but it basically puts you back in a negotiation posture, I take it, with the developer.
Yes, sir. I did have an opportunity to talk to Mark about that issue, and he said as far as he knew, it would have to be the full amount of the TIF, that there's no provision in state law for adjusting that amount. And the second question was?
Well, that was a question, but the first question, the last question was which is you just answered. But the first question here is, for some projects, the person is going to be taking a period of time, 15, 20 years, to pay off a loan, and this tax money goes in to retire that loan through time. With this kind of project, this developer, unless he's totally unsuccessful, if they sell these condominiums, would have his money and presumably pay off that part of the loan. How does that operate? Because some of that money through time in Knox County, as we collect the property tax through time from those new owners, would pay towards that debt. So how is that debt held, and how is that person relieved of their responsibility?
No, sir.
But how is that handled?
The developer is not relieved of the responsibility for the entire TIF period. He's on the hook for any shortfall that occurs through all the documents that are prepared. And if something happened where a condo owner defaulted, then the bank would take over, and they would be responsible to pay those taxes on that particular condo.
Is it your opinion this project would not occur without this approval?
That's my understanding from the developer, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Would you give your name for the record?
Dan Tiller, 901 Broadway, Knoxville Community Development Corporation.
Dan, do you remember the specific conversation that you had with Mark about reducing the amount of the TIF?
Yes, sir, I do. That was last, I think I talked to him Friday about that particular issue.
He basically just says that there's no way to reduce it, that it's the full amount.
That was his opinion.
Okay. Could the city reduce theirs and the county reduce theirs to a certain level? That's my question. Whether if we reduce the amount, it would go back to the city to have another vote to reduce their amount as well.
I guess that would be the case. I'm just not sure.
Yeah.
The legal ramifications of that issue, since it's not addressed at all in the TCA.
Right.
Hey, Commissioner Lutho.
Thank you. Just to follow up of the last question, this developer goes out, borrows money, builds these condos. I believe he's, building about 24? Is that what?
There's 21 apartments in there.
21? And he sells all 21. Hopefully he's successful. And I don't know what time frame he thinks, but let's say it's within the next 2-3 years. And he's paid off. I'm sure he's got a loan from a bank or some financial institution. Pays that off. He's got his profit. I'm sure he's got a profit built in there. And that loan has been paid off, and those properties are free and clear of those encumbrances, right?
That's correct, but the TIF loan is still outstanding.
This TIF loan is still outstanding. And so the new owners of these properties would still have that against their property? Would that still encumber their property?
Their property would be encumbered by the taxes that they would owe. But the developer is on the hook for any shortfall that might occur.
Once he's sold out,
that loan is still in place for the TIF period, which would be 15 years, and the developer's still on the hook for that loan until it's paid off, either by those condo owners or by him.
well, I'm sure he's got a profit built in, and I'm sure it's more than in just a couple $100,000 for selling 21 units. Any idea what he expects those units to sell for?
He is present. If you'd like to speak with him, Jeffrey Nash. My understanding is they'll be from $159 to $380.
Jeffrey Nash, 3012 Whispering Cove Drive, Knoxville 37922.
Mr. Nash, I assume that you expect to turn a profit off of selling these.
To be honest, we couldn't get any form of bank financing unless we proved that we could.
I don't understand why you need this amount of money from the county and from that matter from the city to make this work. I mean, why is it that you have to seek a TIF?
Because the project shows a shortfall in relationship to the sort of construction loan that we would be provided by a banker. Bankers always look for a particular percentage for the developer, which essentially is for margins of problems that occur during the course of the construction. And when you're redoing a building of this nature, which, as you're all aware, suffered fire damage in 2005, and which has since then been open to the elements, there are enormous problems that we could come across during the course of the reconstruction. The bank insists that there is X margin available within our pro forma before they will even consider granting us the money for reconstruction, and the TIF is what bridges that gap between the margin that the bank are looking for and what the actual development shows prior to that.
Let's say you're successful in this project, and we all hope that you are. And I believe you're borrowing somewhere a little over $4 million, or how much is the bank loan for?
The bank loan will be for something like just in excess of $3 million.
$3 million.
We, the developers, are putting in something in the order of $1 million of our own money as well.
Okay. And if you're successful in selling these, and why is it that the TIF could not be paid off during the same period that the bank loan is being paid off? So that in case he sells these, let's say, over the next 3 years, how come that the TIF can't be paid off during it? Is there a law against that? Or can someone answer that? Or
Well, I can answer that for you.
Okay.
In reality, we as developers would end up, if we paid off this loan immediately, we would actually end up with the same sort of margin as we would end up with if we put our money into a CD. So to be honest with you, the risk that we take in redeveloping a building of this nature is such that we must see a certain margin. The period of the TIF, we are still on the hook for making sure that that money is all repaid. If during the course of, and if we don't sell all of these properties, any shortfall in property tax falls back on us, the developers, to make sure that we cover that shortfall.